Hello, everybody. This is John Byrne at Poets and Quants. Welcome to what I know will be a really exciting event. We have the folks here from a really well-known consulting firm, BCG, the Boston Consulting Group, of course. Our session today is called Unlock Your Potential at BCG. I think the word unlock is intentional because it refers to BCG's pre-MBA summer experience for incoming MBA students. And we have today two terrific representatives of the firm, Debbie Fredberg, who is the head of Sloan the head of talent acquisition at BCG. Why I mentioned Sloan was she was most recently an associate director at MIT Sloan's career development office. And we have Eduardo Russian, who is the project leader in the LA office of BCG. Eduardo graduated from Harvard Business School and Debbie graduated from Wharton. So they're rivals in a way. All right. Well, let's get.
And John, you weren't off with what you were saying. I'm the head of talent acquisition at Sloan for BCG. So I was a career advisor at Sloan, but then I came to work for BCG and still go to Sloan all the time to recruit the students instead of coaching them to get jobs. That
makes total sense to me now.
Yeah.
Because I read that in your bio and it just made me wait a second. Is that right?
Yeah.
But for people who don't know about MBA recruiting, and many of you don't because you aren't in an MBA program yet, you're about to go. Generally, the firms that are the major recruiters of MBAs do send back alumni to recruit at the different schools and to do info sessions. So Debbie, that makes total sense to me. All right, let's start. When we asked people, what you wanted to cover in this session, many of you suggested unlock your potential at BCG. So Eduardo, I wonder why that was so and why this is something you want to convey to our attendees of our pre-MBA networking festival.
Thank you, John, and excited to be with everyone today. So for us, it really comes down to our purpose. So we at BCG, our purpose as a company is to unlock the potential of those who advance the world. And as we think about recruiting, as we think about this pool of applicants, for us, we want to call out just the endless opportunities you're going to get at BCG. And when we think about unlocking the potential, that is not just something we say for our clients or our managing directors. It's really about unlocking the potential in our consultants, our project leaders, our principals. And so, but when at BCG, you'll be exposed to really just so many opportunities, endless opportunities, one could say, to grow as a professional, to bring your best self out, to grow and develop, and then have an impact not just in our clients but in our communities, and really in your personal life. Personally, I feel like I'm a better contributor to the organizations I volunteer at, thanks to the development I've had at BCG. So it's really a growing opportunity.
And Unlock also refers, of course, to your pre-MBA experience program that's held in the summer. And the deadline for that, and you can look up the information on this on BCG's website under careers, is in May. So for all of you who would like a taste of BCG, you can apply to that program and really get a chance to know BCG people even before you hit campus. Now, Debbie, what are you really looking for in your MBA interns?
So I think it's important to know there isn't one particular type of person. We appreciate having all different perspectives and people coming from all different backgrounds on all of our teams, because we think the diverse perspectives together, always find the best solutions to problems. So regardless of what you've done before business school, everyone should consider applying because we look for all different backgrounds. One thing that all BCGers do have in common, regardless of what background they come from, is that they are all tenacious problem solvers. So, people who enjoy solving problems and are comfortable with ambiguity would fit in really well at BCG. Among those problem solvers, we look for people who are strong team players, so very collaborative, and people who have a mindset toward continuous learning. Every project can be something new, and every every assignment that you have at BCG, should be something you're excited to dive into, even if you've never been exposed to it before. So we look for people who have that collaborative work style, along with a growth mindset, who want to learn and are comfortable with what they know and what they don't know, so that they can always be thinking about how to develop and learn more and become better at different skills. And finally, we like to have people who are comfortable sharing their point of view. Regardless of what level you are, when you come into BCG, everybody has a seat at the table, and we want to hear those different perspectives. So, yeah, those are the types of people that we're looking for. I would say collaborative, willing to share their opinions, and problem solvers.
That's great. Debbie, what really interests me is the fact that you've been on both sides of the equation. You've been at Sloan School, helping people get jobs at like BCG, and now you're at BCG. I just wonder, what was the biggest surprise for you in crossing the sidewalk and going to the other side of this?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things I was going to say later on, but I'll say it now, is one of the main reasons that I think BCG was such a good fit for me was that I loved being a career advisor, and I loved helping people to figure out where they want to go. And the reason I love BCG is because BCG's approach to recruiting and to career development as a whole is very much helping people all along the way. So when people come to Unlock this summer, or events they go to next year on campus, I think they'll find that through our events, we always try to educate people on BCG, but we also try to help people with their career development along the way. So every event is designed to learn about us, but also to learn how to become better at case interviewing, or how to tell a story in your interview better. So we're always trying to help. And I think that was one of the things that I don't know that I fully realized how BCG did it before I got there, but once I got to BCG, I realized it was such a perfect fit for me, because, of course we're doing recruiting, but it satisfies that helping people part that I love so much. So I feel like I'm still getting to do that like I did as a career advisor.
Which is a reminder that because of your investment in personal growth, this is like another postgraduate educational experience.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. So Eduardo, what does an MBA intern actually do when they join BCG in the summer?
Yeah, so I think it's important to underscore that MBA intern does everything a regular full-time consultant does. We don't distinguish. I've worked with staff summers every summer on my team, and I think of them the same way I would think of an associate or a consultant, right? Depending on what level you're coming in at. And so summer consultants are consultants. They do everything that a regular consultant would do. So that means they get modules, which is a piece of work that they own and drive for the summer themselves. They get clients that they usually interact with, perhaps have one-on-ones with, to some extent manage. They go to trainings. There's a robust amount of training you get when you first start as a summer. Then you have follow-up trainings on specific days. They participate in the office, so they get to join, whether it's obviously social events and learning events in the office, but can also help out planning and organizing stuff in the office. They're part of the diversity networks if they affiliate with one of those, whether it's BLX, so Black and Latinx at BCG, Indigenous, women at BCG, et cetera, parents at BCG. We have a robust, and I know we'll talk about this later, robust set of networks that we have available. But basically, you get everything. We don't think of our interns any differently. We want to give them the most genuine representation of what it's like to work at BCG and really, experience a life in the day. And so we like to think of them as just any other full-time hire. Right.
So it's almost as if you are actually hired full-time. You're getting the full breadth of experience.
Yeah.
Your internship. Now, if you're lucky enough to get a full-time offer and you join the firm, I'm wondering what kind of level of help and support do you get as a new employee? Debbie, you mentioned this investment in your personal growth. How does that manifest itself in terms of how other consultants help you, mentor you? Do you have structured programs in place for mentorship?
Yep. So we do have structured programs for mentorship, but I think people will start to feel what mentorship at BCG is like, even just during the recruiting process before they actually join the firm, because BCGers are naturally helpful people. They're naturally people who like to support others and see the benefits, for how it'll develop themselves when they help work with others as well and help develop those people. So you feel that mentorship even as a candidate when you're recruiting. So regardless of how you meet BCGers, whether it's at an event, at a case workshop, at at a coffee chat, however you meet people, you can pretty much count on the fact that that relationship will continue, and you'll probably continue to speak to those people and be able to go to them and seek advice and ask them about the path that they've taken to help kind of inform the path that you want to take. So people do find that they meet people throughout the process. One of the things that I like seeing the most is people who have come through our process and become an intern, and then seeing years later that they're still in touch with someone who was crucial in the recruiting of that candidate, and how they're still seeking advice from that person and looking at them as a mentor, regardless of what office they're in, or maybe they've never even worked on a project together, but that person is meaningful to them because they've had this development process together from the recruiting standpoint. So you can count on those relationships developing before you get here. Once you arrive, again, we have a lot of informal ways that people will seek out mentors or just kind of develop mentorship relationships. People you've worked on projects with, whether you're part of a network like Eduardo's going to talk about in a little bit, but you might meet people at some of those network events or just office affiliation events. You get to know people and find people on an informal basis who you can always seek advice from. And then we do have formal mentorship programs. I think a big part of it is, you're assigned a talent manager. That talent manager is part career coach, part mentor, to help you find the projects that are right for you. You have career development advisors who will work with you, in kind of interpreting the feedback you get from projects. Throughout the projects themselves, you also have opportunities for informal and formal feedback. And all of that is taken into account when you're looking ahead at what you're going to do next at BCG. So there are a ton of opportunities for mentorship, both formal and informal.
And I know that obviously top of mind today as an issue is diversity and inclusion, and a lot of young people are very passionate about those issues. Eduardo, I wonder if you can talk a little bit about diversity at BCG and whether or not the firm has programs and initiatives in place to foster community.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic question, and one that's very dear to my heart. I've been a core member of the Black and Latinx network, which used to be the Ethnic Diversity Cadre at BCG for many years. John, we could fill an hour just talking about this one topic, so I'm going to try to keep it short, and I'll run through a few things which are top of mind. But to answer your question directly, yes, are a sea of resources available and initiatives available. So first organization, BCG has I believe 7 different networks available. From the ones top of mind in this conversation, probably Black and Latinx at BCG, given recent events, but also everything: women at BCG, parents at BCG, veterans at BCG, disabilities, et cetera. We have a whole slew of networks. Now, when we think, and the other thing to call out is you don't need to be a member of those communities to be an ally and to contribute to the narrative and support. And so one thing I'm very proud of is that at BCG, these aren't insular. We don't just do programming for ourselves, and we don't just act in a bubble. This is a CEO down type of initiatives, networks that provide resources, that involvement in the community, and so to just unpack one of them, and I'll use Black and Latinx at BCG as the example, given it's the one I'm closest to. The network kind of takes on both a learning and development and growth side to it, to the individual. It also obviously has a social and community and you just fun part to it. And then it has more of a service and action part to it. So this last one is more around doing projects in topics like most recently, for example, racial equity. And so you might have heard in this last year, we put out 6 commitments as it pertains to racial equity, starting center with committing $100 million of our people, time, and work to topics around racial equity, targeting, working with He's working with police or organizations on use of force type of projects. Also, one classic and important partner to us is MLT. I'm sure you're familiar with. So we do a lot of work with the MLT organization. I myself am an MLT alum. Very proud of that work we do. But yeah, so we have all of these initiatives that we're doing. But some of the other ones include just how we think about our vendor diversity of programs, right? And how we think about who we're partnering with in terms of an organization. We've also, we're giving money to organizations that direct fund, that we're directly donating dollars to organizations that are, driving some of this work directly as well. And then we're looking at our own talent processes. So we're thinking about how do we hire, how do we promote? I mean, we're taking a very introspective lens of like, where is perhaps any, systemic racism at BCG, right? How can we get around that? How can we be better and kind of be an example of what good looks like? We talk about that a lot in consulting. What does good look like? And so I think we at BCG want to be an organization that can be that benchmark. And so there's so much going on, and all of this is led by our racial equity task force, which, for example, in North America, Joe Davis sits on. He's our chairman, as well as kind of our BLX co-nodes, Daniel Costa and Ian Pancham, as well as a series of different office leadership. And so this is not just a Black and Latinx at BCG issue. This is like kind of a whole BCG issue. And then I would say, so I think there's a ton of different initiatives where we could dive into. I myself have been really, really proud of being able to support some of these initiatives, both in my local office, but then most recently through some of our hiring efforts of the Black and Latinx recruiting director.
So obviously BCG takes diversity and inclusion really seriously. And I also should say, that when you join a firm like BCG, where people talent is essential to its competitive advantage, you're going to get that kind of investment, and which is really wonderful. Now I know that in a lot of post-MBA jobs, a career path can be fairly rigid. So I wonder, Eduardo, what are the available career paths at BCG? How flexible are they?
Very. So the beauty of BCG, I think, is that over the years I've seen it grow. It's a very entrepreneurial environment. We start with that. What that means is we've over the years developed a series of different paths, and so we like to think of it as one BCG, many paths. There's not one image of what success looks like at BCG. Yes, you can go the traditional route and become managing director and be client serving, but we have so much more than that. Over the last 50 years, we've developed so much more. And so today we have things relating to our ambassador programs, where you can go abroad and get an international experience. We have this thing called digital rotations, and we've invested a lot as a company into our digital capabilities. And so we have opportunities to work with Gamma, which is more of our data science team. We have opportunities to work with Platinian, right, which is more of an IT type of consulting implementation team. We have opportunities to work with Digital Ventures, which is more of our, more product design, rapid prototyping design side of the house. And it goes on, right? We work with Bread House, we work with Maya, Omnia. We have a lot of different sub brands in the BCG portfolio. And as a consultant at BCG, you're not fixed to just working on one type of project. You can work with all of these adjacent businesses. You can even do rotations with them. So we have essentially digital rotations where you basically go and work on those teams full time. Even if you don't want to do that, you just want to try things like myself, you can. Right now I have Gamma people on my team, and so I'm actively working on Gamma project, and so you can still stay in your swim lane and still interact with those teams and with that type of work. And then if you kind of step back and you say, okay, well, maybe that's not for me, we have other type of learning opportunities. So there's things like if you want to get more exposed to a client, you can go and do a secondment at them. And so we allow you to go and spend 6 months, a year maybe, working for one of our clients, working perhaps for a nonprofit organization in the world and getting that hands-on experience. And then there's things around like social impact immersion programs where you can go and you can spend some time working just in social impact. We've experimented with different regional immersion programs in the past. The list goes on. We have expert tracks type of paths where you can perhaps you don't want to be commercial facing as a senior leader. You want to be more topic specific, and so you can develop into more of an expert track type of consultant. There's a lot of different flavors of what you can do at BCG. There's not really one right path. And the last thing I'll say here is there's also not a set timeline. So if you think about where you should be in 5 to 10 years, there's not a, you must reach, managing director by year 8 or anything. You can kind of go at your pace. And so we've implemented things like our 60% work, I think it's called Flex 60 program, where you basically work reduced hours. And that's to kind of accommodate your personal life choices and kind of where you want to be. And you still kind of get there, you just get there on your own timeline. We also have, I believe, a Flex 80 program that allows also a little more flexibility. We have things like Time for You, which allow you to take 2 months off every year to go and explore and kind of pursue a personal passion or spend time with loved ones. And so there's just so many different opportunities to kind of where I started this whole conversation earlier today. And there's so many different timelines that there isn't a perfect route or a right route. It's really what you make of it.
Well, I got to say, Eduardo, you're making me want to work for BCG now, for God's sake. Debbie, if I have an interest in, let's say, healthcare or sustainability or industrial products, do I have a shot at aligning those interests with my work at BCG?
Absolutely. So, most people come in as generalists, but it all starts with your talent manager, basically, who I mentioned before. I think of them as sort of a career coach. But it's important to know that in BCG in general, we have a culture that's very open to discussing career development, areas for development, interest areas, next steps, and all the different things that are going through your mind. It's a very open culture. So people are always talking about the next step that they want to take, whether it's within BCG or even if they're already looking beyond BCG. So we're always helping people kind of figure that out, what path they want to take. The talent manager is sort of that core person, because everyone has a talent manager, and you meet with them regularly, and it's really important to be open with them because they're going to be your advocate. So you can talk to your talent manager about things that you want to develop, things that you're really interested in and want to do more of. Like you just said, if you said healthcare was really your priority, they can know that that's your priority, but they'll also know other areas that interest you. They'll also work with you throughout your time so that when you finish a project and have feedback that you're trying to work on, they'll help you think about what projects are going to be the best projects to work on those areas that have been identified. So with your talent manager, you can pretty much see the world of possibilities, and they'll always have you in mind when a project comes up to know, oh, this would be a really great fit for John because he's really interested in healthcare, or he's really interested in this functional area. So you have really broad discussions with them about what you're looking for and what you've done and what would be great for your career to help you develop into the next stage. So that's kind of like the core person you'd work with. But throughout your time, you have other people who will help guide you along the way. Talking to managing directors and partners in your own office, or just other people who have been around a few more years than you learn so much about the different opportunities they've taken advantage of, like some of the opportunities Eduardo just talked about. And in the feedback you get throughout your projects, you'll also get a little bit more perspective on what should be next for you. And you kind of bring all that information back to your talent manager and work together to figure out what your next project should be.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that, to underscore what Debbie was saying, is it's really such a unique partnership with your talent manager. Because I came in thinking I knew what I wanted to do, and then through kind of staffing, I think you realize perhaps you don't know what you want to do, or what you thought about industry might not be right or true. Right. And there's this self-realization and exploration phase that you have as a generalist in the first 2 years, where you try a bunch of different things, different industries, you work with different people. And the talent managers are really great mentors and coaches, sometimes identifying pockets of opportunity that might not be an industry you might have thought about in the past, but it's a really interesting topic, and the people in that topic are fantastic leaders and mentors. And so you kind of create these pockets of magic within the firm. And so they help you find those pockets and help you grow in them.
Yeah, that's a really good point that many people might not think about. When you join a firm like Intel or Cisco or, any other major recruiter, Procter and Gamble and such, you're in that industry and that's it. You join a BCG and you have the opportunity to work in all of these industries over time, and through your different programs, get a taste of what each of those industries might be like. Now, a big part of the agenda in business today is digital transformation. Just as it was in the 1980s and 1990s, globalization. I'm wondering, given the importance of technology in everything that we do, what MBAs might know about digital and tech at BCG. Debbie?
So we are a leader when it comes to digital work. More than 1/3 of our casework has a digital component. So you can know, regardless of how you come in at BCG, you are probably, if you come in as a generalist, at least 1/3 of your work is going to have a digital component. We do have people who often say that they want even more of their work to be digital, and we have opportunities for them too. So you can know that you're going to get 1/3 of your work to be it, or you can guarantee yourself more digital work by following one of our other paths. So you can be a consultant, just like all the consultants coming in, but be affiliated with our digital accelerator system, which means that half of your work will be digital. But the beauty of that program, and one of the reasons it's actually really popular, especially at a school like Sloan where I am, it's really popular because half your work will be digital, but the other half of your work is generalist work, just like everybody else. So it's really a great way to join BCG, because you can work with your talent manager and they can know, you're going to definitely have a certain number of digital projects, but they'll also know what your priorities are in terms of work that's not digital, so that when the right project comes up, you can say, oh, that's one that I want to do in my 50-50 model of half my work being digital and half my work not being digital. And then for some people who are more into analytics and programming, Gamma can be a good fit for them too. And obviously we have, like Eduardo mentioned before, our teams work really collaboratively. So on your project, you might be working with Gamma consultants as well as digital accelerator system consultants, we call it DOS, or just generalist consultants. You can work with people across the board.
Right. So let's close with advice that you might have for incoming business students. Both of you have been through elite MBA programs that are very selective, hard to get into, very rigorous, and very valued by the marketplace. What advice do you have, Debbie, for incoming business students?
Well, the first thing I would say is business school can be overwhelming. It's very busy. So definitely focus on school when you first get there, because it's a big adjustment. But before you get there this summer, you should definitely register for BCG Unlock, like you mentioned earlier. It's a great way to start to learn about BCG even before you get there. And then look for when our programming starts on campus, which is usually around October, and if you're looking for summer internships. And then follow us on social media. Our Instagram channels, BCG Life and BCG Careers, give you a great glimpse of what life is like at BCG. And then I would say the most important thing is when you get to campus, look for the BCGers in your class and in the second year class, because they are our greatest resource. They can tell you what life is really like at BCG. They actually are our greatest selling point, because they are wonderful people. You'll see, I think a lot of you will see in your classes just how impressive and smart and wonderful the BCGers are who are in your school.
Another cool thing about BCG Unlock is you're starting on your network right away. You're going to get to know not only some of your classmates, but students in other schools that you can network with. Eduardo, what's your advice for incoming business students?
No, and I'm just building on that one, actually, John. I've been a mentor to Unlock in the past, as well as the pre-Unlock Fellows program, we used to call it. I would say, as you think about kind of getting those programs, definitely apply to Debbie's point, and really, think of your mentor there as a partner, and you don't have to come with prepared agendas or conversations with them. Really, as you kind of explore the process, I would say find those advocates for you, and your Unlock buddy will be an advocate for you, and have a regular conversation with them, be it every couple of weeks, and just share who you are, share what you're passionate about, how you're thinking about office choices, and then start to get introduced to consultants in those offices, and just get to know them. There's so much of this job is just getting to know the people and knowing really where you feel like you belong and you fit in well. And it's hard to do that sometimes in the craziness of like recruiting and being on campus and all that. And so if you can get started early and get to know people and get to know the office early, that's phenomenal. And it goes a long way. And so I would say just, have those very casual conversations that they'll pay off.
Definitely.
Great advice. Debbie and Eduardo, it's been a true pleasure for me. Thank you very much. And for all of you out there, hey, good luck on your MBA journey. Check out our session with BCG. BCG is going to have a great session in our pre-MBA networking festival. And you'll learn a lot more about the firm, what it's like to work there, what kinds of assignments are given to newly minted MBAs who are recruited and employed by BCG. And otherwise, we'll see you at our festival. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, John.